Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to lesson 17. So we're done with Soila, and now we're doing our 2 additional lessons. And the first one, obviously I think both are very important, but the first one in particular deals with the definition of a Sikh. Who is a Sikh? What is a Sikh? And, this is a topic that often garners a lot of debate. A lot of emotions fly during this topic. Person A has this viewpoint that a Sikh is this type of person who does this, looks like that, while person B may have a completely different understanding of what a Sikh is. And, when I was in SSA, and what I've seen in SSAs right now is even when this topic is discussed, there isn't a clear consensus. People have their own opinions, and unfortunately nothing really productive happens. People just say their opinions, and there might be an argument of sorts, and then people learn of other people's opinions, and then they just go home. So we were thinking when we were making this curriculum that, hey, let's have a lesson that we actually look at Gurbani to see what does the Guru say a Sikh is. What does Gurbani define a Sikh as? What does the Guru say? What does Bhai Gurdas say about, who a Sikh is? What is a Sikh? What characteristics does a Sikh exhibit in their life? So with that, hopefully after this lesson, you have a solid understanding of how, how there's so many different aspects of being a Sikh in the Guru's eyes. And I'm going to go through the Bani that we've assigned and pick out a few parts that I think are especially important. But again, you have everything, you've looked at everything, but I'm just going to pick a few points that I think are particularly important. So I'm on Guru Ram Das Ji's Shabad in Rag Gauri. This is on Ang page 305, as you know, in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. This is a very famous Shabad. Many Ragis sing it quite often. Literally, it's defining a Sikh, right? The first line itself, one who calls himself a Sikh of the Guru. So this whole Shabad is talking about what does Guru Ram Das Ji say a Sikh is. The first thing I want to point out is the idea of Amrit Vela, right? So here in the first line, so bhalke ut har naam te aave, right? This is talking about the idea of getting up early in the morning at Amrit Vela and remembering God, remembering his value system, practicing Simran, whether that be through Kirtan, meditation, Nitnem, everything. It's important for a Sikh to get up at Amrit Vela. The first question is, when is Amrit Vela? So Amrit Vela, for most people agree, is generally between 3 to 5 a.m. in the morning. Approximately, more or less. 3 to 5, maybe even 6 a.m. in the morning, depending on who you talk to. So many people like to ask, well, what is so special about those hours? What is the point of this? Don't we as Sikhs think that there's no such thing as an auspicious time? Right? We don't believe in that, right? True, we don't believe that there's a special day or there's a month that is good luck or bad luck. But Amrit Vela is given very special importance in Sikhi as being the most precious time during the day to reach God. And the reason for that is actually very simple and very logical. Amrit Vela is a time when everyone else is still asleep, for the most part. It's still dark outside. If you wake up at 4 in the morning, chances are there's very few people awake at that time, in your city. You're not getting emails on your phone, you're not getting notifications, there aren't any texts coming in, no Snapchat coming, at 4 in the morning, on your phone. If you're at work, most likely you aren't getting work emails or calls at 4 in the morning. If you're living in a house with other family members, most likely there's no one making noise in the house. Everyone's still asleep except for you. So because the entire world is sleeping but you have hours to just focus on God. If you want to do your Nitnem in peace and not let anyone or anything bother you, Amrit Vela is the best time. I speak from personal experience that if one is trying to do Nitnem and fully focus, or meditate with fully focus, or listen to Kirtan and fully focus, it is much easier to do when there's no sound, no one bothering you, no stress. You know that you're not due anywhere, you don't have to go anywhere. You're just with yourself and you're focusing on God. There's no one there to bother you. As opposed if you want to do this at, let's say, 2 p.m. or 6 p.m., Well, now you're already stressed out during the day. You've already had meetings at work or classes or exams. People are calling you, they're texting you, you're getting notifications left and right on your phone. Even if you were to turn off your phone and lock the door, you can still hear things outside. Life is still happening outside. You can hear cars going by. You can hear airplanes in the sky. You can hear all sorts of things, maybe birds singing outside. There's so many sounds because the entire world is awake. And as a result, it is hard to fully focus when you're being disturbed. So therefore, Amrit Vela is the time when no one will bother you in your focus of God. It's quiet. So as a result, Guru Sahib has told us in so many different places that a Sikh should arise early in the morning and focus on God during Amrit Vela. It's very, very important. And you look at throughout this Shabad, again, I'm not going through every single line, but here the idea of following Guru Sahib's value system, following the instructions of the Guru, living a life that the Guru wants us to live. You look at here, Fir Chare Devas Gurbani Gave, the idea of singing is mentioned specifically for a Sikh. That, hey, a Sikh must learn Kirtan and Rag, of course, because that's what the Gurus did. They wrote Kirtan and Rag. That she must sing Gurbani to remember him. Singing is extremely important in Sikhi. And then, of course, Jo Saas Giras Te Aaye Mera Har Har, So Gur Sikh Guru Man Pave. Referring to the idea that if the Sikh who remembers God in every single breath, that every single action and thought reflects his value system, that person is pleasing to the Guru. Being a good person, being kind, being forgiving, being generous, getting rid of the 5 sins, and actively trying to be a good person, reflecting God's value system in his or her everyday life is very important. So that's Guru Ram Das Ji Shabad, just again very briefly only talked about a few points, talking about, who a Sikh is. Then if you go to Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani here, the 52 Hukamnamas. The 52 Hukamnamas are an extremely famous document, and the little bit of history is provided for you here, the year and where they were sent. These are orders. A Hukamnama is an order that Guru Gobind Singh Ji sent to the Sikh Sangat, saying that my Sikhs will do these 52 things. They should do these 52 things. It is my order to them to do it. And before I even get into these 52 here, I'm only going to cover a few, not all 52 of course, but a lot of people at this point, when they look at, for example, Rehet, the external form or the internal form, or the actions a Sikh should do, they get very, overwhelmed, of course, but more than that, they ask, what's the point? If Guru Sahib is talking about the importance of a dastar, of a pagdi, or talking about the importance of dasvand, or the importance of Amrit Vela, a lot of people ask, what is the point here? Why is the Guru even bringing this up? How does wearing a dastar make me a better person? Why do I have to follow all these rules? I get asked that all the time. They ask, why is the Guru making it so difficult for me? Why do I have to follow all of these rules? And the answer to this is, it's your mindset. The way you're looking at these lists of Hukamnamas or Guru Ram Das Ji Shabad, for example, you're looking at it as a burden. You're looking at it as something, I don't want to do this. The Guru's making me do this. So as a result, you clearly don't want to do this. It's gonna be a negative effect on you. You don't want to do this, so it'll seem difficult. But instead of looking at it as a burden, look at it as a blessing. That Guru Sahib has done immense kripa on us. That he has given us for our benefit these lists of hukams, of orders to live our life, to make our life easier, to make our life healthier, to make it spiritually wiser, more awake, that we become closer to him. Rather than throw us out in the deep end and let us fend for ourselves and figure out what we should do, what we shouldn't do in terms of reaching God, Guru Sahib has already told us, hey, you know what? Don't worry about, wasting time thinking of how to do it. Here's how to do it. Here are your instructions. Here are 52 instructions for you to reach God. I'm doing you a favor. I'm giving you the instructions so you can make your job easier for yourself. You don't have to go figure it out yourself. Here are 52 hukamnamas for you right now. that we are so blessed that we have the Guru Granth Sahib, we have Dasam Bani, we have Bhai Gurdas's Bani, we have Bhai Nandlal's Bani, we have so much Bani available to teach us how to reach God, giving us not, rules, of course, how to live our life, what actions to have. But this is a blessing. This is not something that we should shy away from or be, overwhelmed by. All of these hukamnamas, all of these so-called rules are for our benefit. Now, giving daswand, for example, donating a 10th share of your profit is important. We talked about Amrit Vela here. And with daswand, going back to that, I encourage you to take this very seriously as literally 10% of your income. Now, what I like to do, and this is something I learned from someone else, is I actually have a ledger, a daswand ledger on my laptop, an Excel sheet. And I have columns in which I write in the amount of money I received in a paycheck or as a gift. Then I have a column for daswand, 10%. And you put in the formula and Excel automatically calculates 10% of that number. And then whenever I donate to charity or spend money on some sort of nonprofit cause, I make a little entry in there and how much I spent. And I have a running tracker of how much money I'm spending on daswand and whether it's 10% or less or more. So take it seriously. It's not like just generally 10, it's literally 10%. So try to take it as seriously as possible. The idea Guru Gobind Singh Ji again talks about Panch Kakar, the ideas of keeping the 5Ks close to you, very important, not letting any of them go. They're all extremely important. Not using tobacco or drugs, not being without a dastar, not drinking alcohol, and then of course the idea of uncut hair. So these are just partial, as I mentioned here in your text. The whole 52 hukamnamas are on page 43. If you want to look at them, at a later time, please do so. These are just some that we thought were, especially important for everyone to look at. So again, all of these are required, but rather than look at them as sort of like a burden, look at it as a gift. That Guru Sahib has blessed me, that I don't have to worry about figuring out how to get to him. He has already given me the instructions. He has shown me the way. All I have to do is follow these instructions. So look at it as sort of a blessing. I for example, I love it that these hukamnamas exist because it makes my life so much easier. Because now I know what I have to do. There are many people that are born in religions that don't have one specific follower. They spend their whole life looking for a guru. One guru tells them to do something, the other guru tells them to do something else. Their whole life is spent just finding a guru. Here we are so blessed that we have a guru and that guru's already given us instructions. So all we have to do is follow these instructions. We are so fortunate and blessed to be in this situation where we have these shabads, this Bani to help us get to our ultimate destination. And looking at Bhai Gurdas Ji's Bani, of course, at the end, he talks about humility, right? You look at the first 3 lines, for example, the idea of being powerless, of being humble, of being childlike. It's important for a Sikh to be extremely humble. The Gurus were extremely humble. Bhai Gurdas Ji, of course, being extremely humble. A Sikh must be humble. He cannot be arrogant. She cannot be arrogant or have a big ego. A Sikh must be humble. And then look at the 4th line here. Hauntis vitto varya khasme da pave jispana. That a Sikh accepts and loves the will of God. And basically that means accepting hukam, accepting his will. And we talked about hukam extensively in Soila, so I'm not going to go over it again. But a Sikh, at some point in his or her life, has to have complete faith in God and accept his value system and act upon it, and accept all the actions that happen around his or her life that are beyond his control. That is from Guru Sahib's hukam. And we talked about questioning as well. Questioning is fantastic at a starting point. If your questions actually are constructive, if your questions are being asked to further your faith in God. If your questions though are just to start a debate or start an argument, obviously those are not constructive, those are pointless to ask. But questions, if you have real questions about Sikhi, it's important that you get them answered. But you want to get to a point in your life where you no longer are asking questions about Sikhi, you have complete faith in it. So you want to get to that point where you do fall in love with the will of God. You fall in love with the faith, with hukam. That's what Bhai Gurdas Ji is talking about here. So again, the point with this lesson is not to overwhelm you, not to make you scared or intimidated, but rather we want to increase your knowledge of who a Sikh is, what a Sikh is supposed to do. And as a result, we want you to work on this path to try to accumulate as many of these characteristics as you can. And for most people, it doesn't come overnight. It takes a long time to get there. But slowly and steadily, we hope that by following this path, you will get there. Of course, some people do have immense kirpa, and it does happen overnight here and there. But for the most part, it takes time on your journey. But again, we want you not to be overwhelmed, but we want you to take this step by step. Just like, if you have an exam at the end of the semester, you study step by step. You don't get overwhelmed, but you break it down into smaller bits, and you tackle each smaller bit day by day, week by week. We want you to do the same thing here with these hukamnamas, with these shabads. That you take this bit by bit, that you decide, I'm gonna improve these parts of my life, then this part and this part. And before you know it, suddenly you're practicing everything that the gurus have told you to practice. So we wanted you, again, just to increase your knowledge of what the gurus, what Barney says about who a Sikh is, what a Sikh is, and again, hopefully provide you with more clarity to that issue. And with that, I will see you next week. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.